Music Interview Corner.
Hello from the Music Interview Corner, guys. I'm again here with Mikael and again in the tour bus, but not with Dark Tranquility, but with the Halo effect tonight. Hi, Mikael.
Hello, hello, hello. Nice to have you here again.
Likewise. Thank you for taking time again.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
You're right now on your Heimat Over Europe Tour with Heaven Shall Burn, Frozen Soul, and the Black Dahlia Murder.
Yeah.
So, what were the best and the worst moments on this tour so far?
I think the best moments have been the shows. It's been cool because Heaven Shall Burn has a really strong connection with the German audience. So some of the shows here in Germany have been incredible, really, really cool. So it's been lovely to perform for their audience in some ways. Tomorrow we're going to play in their hometown, which is going to be awesome. But so that's part of the highlight of this, to kind of see a new audience in a place or a city or in a country that we've been before, but not in the same way. So I really like that. Low, I don't know. Like we have had some days off too much where I was like, I just want to go back to it. We're itching to do shows rather than wait around, but. Other than that, it's been super nice, like easygoing, really, really cool audiences, great bands, like simple, amazing tour, actually.
And after all these years of touring, is there a certain item that mysteriously goes missing on the tour bus every single tour?
Apart from socks and that kind of stuff, no. I'm really good at. No, I'm not good, but I make sure that I don't leave anything behind, and if I do it, I hate myself for it because I want to make sure I have everything because it's important. You bring your stuff, you bring, but of course, like sometimes you buy stuff or you go shopping and you forget some, but it's fine. But no, I want to make sure that I get home with the same amount of stuff that I left with. But usually I get home with a lot more, in terms of records and stuff like that.
When you came here, you had a very nice shopping bag. So you went shopping in Berlin today?
Yeah, I went. I'm going on tour soon with Cemetery Skyline, so I had to buy a new hat for the shows and something like that. And some necessities. And I bought some records yesterday when I was here. So Berlin is fantastic for shopping. I don't usually go shopping that much, but if you get a feel for it, you're in a good mood. Maybe you have a beer while you're out there shopping, then things happen, and all of a sudden, like you spend more than you intended. But that's okay.
And speaking of Cemetery Skyline, you're the vocalist of 4 bands. So, of course, Halo Effect, Dark Tranquility, Grand Cadaver, and Cemetery Skyline. How do you balance all these 4 bands?
I don't know. It works out, but it's hard. It's not easy. Everybody, we all want to tour and we want to play shows and we want to record albums and stuff like that, so we have to kind of plan it, but eventually it works out. It's just it's harder for me than it is for them sometimes, which is fine. That's easy, so I don't want to I don't want anything to be affected by the other bands, but of course eventually that will happen. But the balance is hard, but I work with a lot of great people who understand and know my schedule and help me organize my schedule, so that makes it much easier, and I'm super grateful for that because I couldn't have done it myself.
And your fans say about you that when they see you on stage or meet you after concerts, that they always have the feeling that you really want to be there. So how do you keep up this energy and joy?
Well, it's because I still want to, and it's still fantastic. I mean, we get to do this still. We have an audience who will join us and who will come there and celebrate an old album or celebrate a new album or just join us in kind of like celebration of heavy metal kind of. And I think it's amazing, and it's really hard to not get into that moment. Like you have to try hard not to enjoy it actually. And I mean, of course, like being on tour, like not every day is all cheer and fun. So and you go like, I don't know if it's gonna work tonight, because I mean, you have your highs and lows in terms of confidence and self-confidence and kind of like just how you feel, anxieties and all that stuff. So maybe not every day is kind of like you wake up in the morning and go like, yeah, it's going to be awesome, because normally that's not how you feel. But then once you get closer to the show, you know that it's going to happen. You feel good, and it's like, or if you don't feel good, you walk on stage and you go like, let's see what happens. And then it actually works out, and the crowd is there for it. And then everything kind of changes into this amazing feeling of kind of sharing and communicating and being kind of present for the people who are there. And I love that. And I mean, I wish I could take that for granted, and I wish I could know that that's going to happen every night, because it almost always does. But it doesn't change the fact that when I wake up in the morning or in the early days of the morning, I really don't feel it. But then it's always there anyway. But I have a feeling that maybe if you do take it for granted, then you will lose that excitement. So, yeah.
Speaking of albums, last year you published your second album with the Halo Effect, March of the Unheard. Who or what are the Unheard in the context of the album title?
The idea when we started this band was to talk about like the stuff that we have gone through together, like as friends, basically. And we've known each other since we were teenagers, but we've grown up, like not separate, but same city, but always having a lot of things in common. But one thing that we do have in common is like children and kids, and like and also our upbringing, like how we grew up differently. Like Daniel, he was in my brother's class when I was a kid, and Peter was my best friend Anders' little brother, in a very different thing. And Niklas was in another class, and Jesper, of course, another. And we all had our kind of similar but different stories that kind of led to where we ended up. And it was mostly because you felt different. You felt out of place. You felt out of time. You wanted something that no one else was kind of interested in, or you dreamed about things that no one else dreamed about, and you wanted something for yourself that no one else it was hard to share that with someone. And that's how we met, and how we kind of bonded, and we became friends. And of course, I can see that over the years, like how things have changed for us and how things have progressed and kind of moved on and all that stuff. But also, like, we also have, some of us have kids in the same age that we were when we met now. So you kind of start thinking about, like, what is their purpose now? Like, how the world is different nowadays than it was 30 years ago, And of course now everybody can be heard. Like at the time, like nobody knew what we were doing. Like you could feel it there's a reason we call it the underground, because it was underground. Like the metal scene was underground. No one knew about it. No one kind of knew it that it existed, but it was just us through lettering, like writing letters to people all over the world just to find the music that no one else listened to. Whereas now everything is in the open, but it's still kind of like a blur and a noise and kind of like a black noise of opinions and thoughts and people sharing, but not for the sake of sharing, but maybe for the sake of getting attention or whatever. So the voice of the unheard is like the voice of those who just have an honest opinion about something, where you don't expect that you're going to get clicks or likes or upvotes or whatever, just like people who just have feelings, like, because that's not enough nowadays. Like, in order to get somewhere, in order to be seen or heard, you have to have a take on something, a strong opinion about something super negative, super positive, or not at all. Because there's, like, if you just have, like, this is my serious, like, the way I think about things, it's kind of not enough. And maybe, like, that's something people need to talk about as well. And also, usually, I mean, those strong emotions are not your true emotions. It's just like, what people expect from you, or what is expected of you. And that's not necessarily the truth. So I think there's kind of like a different discourse of communication is what I would like to see. But we're way past that now, obviously, and it's kind of sad to see. So I wish there was a kind of like a more balanced conversation, but now it's not. It's either for or against 100% best thing in the world, or I'd never been so insulted in my life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, cancel culture.
Exactly. No, cancel culture, but also like you move on with something and it's like the best thing ever. Yeah. And then, but nothing is kind of like, in between. And I'm from Sweden. Like, we have a word for what is between. You don't here in Germany, you don't in English. And
what is the word?
Lagom.
Lagom.
Lagom. I don't really like it because I like to take things to extremes. So lagom is kind of like a curse word, but at the same time, like, there's something about it that just, this is lagom. Like, this is halfway in between good and bad, and it's fun. And
like the golden middle way.
Yeah, but it's kind of like that.
If you want to interpret it positively,
yeah,
and otherwise it's just average or something when you use it as a bad word.
It's definitely not average. So and maybe we need a little bit more of that sometimes.
A little bit more lagom.
Yeah.
And the fact that you and your bandmates share decades of history together, does that make the recording process easier, or does it sometimes lead to strong creative debates?
No, easier for sure. I mean, we know each other, of course, and it's not that this is only the second album that we've done together, like most of us. But it makes it easier because, like, we kind of know our place, like, we know that who's going to do this, who's going to do that, and we can also trust each other. And I like that a lot, knowing that Niklas and Jesper are going to write the songs. Peter's going to play some amazing bass. Stanne is going to play some amazing drums, and hopefully I will not destroy the songs by singing. And
I guess you don't. It sounds not like you're doing. It sounds amazing.
But basically that's what and everybody's left to their own kind of devices. Like, you know that it's going to be good because we know each other so well musically. So that helps. I mean, starting out with like a new band of musicians you don't know, then it's a totally different story. But with this, it's very easy.
And were there sometimes moments where someone brought a demo and one of you guys said, wow, this is brilliant, and someone else said, oh, maybe not?
No, I mean, sure. I mean, we kind of do that stuff where we started with an idea and someone has another idea and something like that. But we've worked so much in this kind of environment that it makes things easier. You go like, yeah, maybe like this. So, and it's not really the way we work. Like, if it's open to every person's opinion all the time, that means nothing gets done. So we have to kind of like have a certain way of working. Otherwise, things just stop or grind to a halt. But of course that happens a lot. Like in a creative process, someone goes like, yeah, but I really like this. It's like, yeah, but maybe not in this context. But of course, I've been through that a million times, and but you always get through it. And usually, I mean, and 90% of the time, you end up with something that is better. It just takes a little bit of extra effort to get there.
Was there one song on the album where one of you guys brought in an idea that completely changed the direction of the track?
I think so. Like, for instance, like the song Between Directions, coincidentally, is it was very different when I heard the first demo. It was super heavy, and even the verse was really heavy, and I was like, all right, what do I do here? But I felt like there was something about the melodies and song and like where it kind of carries on and how it ends up that meant that it needed something else. So I did a demo of it, like, and sent it out again. So they were like, all right, so that's where you're going. And Niklas, who wrote most of the song, it was kind of like, all right, I had no idea, but fine, this is actually cool. And so then we changed a lot. So I think it's cool to be flexible, and you have like an idea, but all at the same time, like, you have an idea about what you're doing, but you really don't know what the other guys are doing yet. And it's the same with when Daniel like plays drums. He has like this vibe that changes sometimes the beat of the chorus, for instance, and then I have to go back and rewrite my lyrics because I've already kind of decided, based on kind of like an early version of the song. Same with Peter, like he has kind of like, oh, I think this is groovier. It's like, okay, then you have to adapt to it. But I think that's just part of that creative process that I really love, and part of trusting each other, knowing that whatever we bring to the table is going to be hopefully and most definitely going to improve the song.
And if one of the songs from March of the Unheard would be the soundtrack for something completely ordinary, like grocery shopping or folding laundry, which one would be the funniest choice?
Well, I think our Channel to the Darkness, which is a song that we brought on for this tour that we haven't played before. That's about escapism, and taking you away from the ordinary and thinking that the world is bigger, imagining that there is something other than yourself out there, and that's what sparks your imagination. So it's the same way when if you're doing laundry or something like that, and you have your headphones on and you listen to a song or you listen to a book or something like that. It will take you, transport you in another place, and that's what the song is about. So I think that would fit.
Mm-hmm. And you and your bandmates greatly helped to shape the melodic death metal sound of the 90s. And when you started the Halo Effect, did you feel you're continuing a legacy, or did you feel you were starting something completely new?
We didn't really decide on what to do when we started. So the idea was to just do something together, regardless of what it was. But then when we when we actually got started working on material, I think we realized that maybe we should kind of stick to what we know and kind of play to our strengths. So that meant kind of keeping on a legacy, but doing it in a way where we don't have kind of like the baggage of our bands that have been going for many, many years, so that we can just like take the stuff that we love about it, like the fun and the writing and the melodies and the whatever, like just into something that is without baggage, without history. And that was exciting for me and for all of us, kind of like, we start new with something like, but we also use, of course, the 30 years of experience that we have. And, so it became more kind of keeping on something that we were part of creating, sure.
And I feel your music has a strong sense of nostalgia often, but it also still feels fresh. Do you consciously keep this balance between like the legacy of a Gothenburg sound and fresh modern songwriting?
Consciously, no. I think that just comes with the territory. It comes with the experience of being there when it happened, but also like knowing how to do it now. I think we can laugh, we're in the studio, we go like, oh man, this we could have written this in '96 sometimes, but then also like the next minute we listen to something that is like, oh, this feels cool and new. So it's just a matter of like keeping yourself grounded, but it's also part of like you have this in you. This is part of your musical DNA, but you also have the experience. So it's what you loved as a 15-year-old with the experience of a 50-year-old. Like that's the combination of like nostalgia and keeping it modern.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think made the Gothenburg sound so special?
A number of things, I think. Timing, production, and just the generality of the bands of the time. If you consider like the three albums that kind of were important was The Gallery from DT, Just a Race, and Slaughtered Soul, and they were recorded this same within 1 year in the same studio in the same city. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a sound to it, but it's also because we grew up together, or we grew up kind of musically together, because we met when we were teenagers. We listened to the same music. We had the same idea what music should be and what it can do and how seriously we take it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big part of it, like that. Even though we try to be very, very different from each other or from any other band, we all strive for originality on our own. But we recorded like in the same, and it was the same period of time, and that's where we were musically. And I wouldn't say those albums are very similar, apart from the fact that it's 1 year in one studio, but very different personalities, very different kind of musical kind of ideas, even though our background was the same. And what happened then was that people associated like anything that was kind of melodic, had harmonies, and had like a different way of thinking into something that was kind of like the Gothenburg way of writing. And I'm very happy that it turned out this way, but we have no idea, of course, when we did this. It was just something that we felt we wanted to do in order to stick out or stand out or be different.
And about the Gothenburg metal scene, do you think this is something that could also develop today, or was it something unique to that point in time?
It's really hard to say. I mean, obviously, it's tied to a place, and it's tied to like because of the proximity. I mean, nowadays you don't need proximity. Like now, you can be a band and you can have one member in one part of the world, and it's like it doesn't matter. Whereas back then, in the 90s or in the 80s, as it were for us, like you had to. Otherwise, if you don't live close to each other, how do you find each other? So we lived on the same street, and Tompa and Anders at the Gates, they lived on the other side of that street, and on the same bus line. And the In Flames guys lived like a couple of stops away, and that was it. And the city was small, so that's how that kind of scene grows. So honestly, like it would be hard to create something similar like that, because the proximity and the kind of like the reason you're in the city meant a lot. But I've noticed in the kind of last 10 or 20 years that a venue or kind of like a promoter or someone like who's a very passionate guy can kind of rally people around them, so that you start bands and stuff like that. It was in Sweden, there was a venue, and there were a lot of bands that started because of just we wanted to hang out there, and it was one of these amazing venues where you can go anywhere, almost every day, and super late at night. You can just rehearse, you can see shows, hang out, drink beer, eat great food, all that stuff, and it just that became a scene just in itself. So of course that can happen. But it needs to be, obviously kind of like a local thing, something that you rally around. So you meet in a place and it's where people meet, then magic happens. Even though, of course, you don't have to. You can also do it super remotely, but it's not the same.
And which venue was that?
That was Truckstop Alaska in Gothenburg, and it sparked a lot of fantastic bands that I love.
If scientists would open a portal to an alternate universe where the Halo effect would be a boy group, who of you would be the heartthrob? Who would be the funny one? Who would be the sensitive one? Who would be the mysterious one? And who would be the rebel?
Okay, I'll be the sensitive one.
Really? I would think that you're like between the heartthrob and the funny one. But okay, sensitive? Yes.
The funny one would be Daniel. The heartthrob would be Peter, maybe. And then the mysterious one would be Jensen. What's the else?
What was it? The rebel.
The rebel, definitely. I mean, that's Nicholas. So that's easy.
Cool. And if you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to your younger self at the beginning of your musical journey, what would it be?
I know, like some people have asked, answered this kind of question where they go like, "Oh, don't do it." But no, definitely not for me. No, I think I don't know, like because what I liked about like what we've done and what I've done like for the last 30 plus years is to kind of steadily move on to something and learn as you go along. To find out kind of new ways of expressing yourself, finding new ways to kind of collaborate and write and find a means of expression. Of course, there are things along the way where you went like, "Oh man, we should have done that," or "We shouldn't have done that." But
do you want to give examples?
No, but everything like that is part of the learning experience, So maybe we should have. I mean, early on we felt very headstrong. Like with Dr. Quillity, like we were like, yeah, we know exactly what to do. We don't need anyone else. Mm-hmm. And maybe it would have been cool to ask for help or work with someone or something like that kind of guide you, you know, because I think it can be a very, very good thing, you know, if you're in the right hands, then someone kind of knows the industry and stuff like that. But we found out the hard way and in our own way, and I appreciate that. I learned a lot through that, but at the same time, maybe things would have, I don't know, moved faster or smoother. I don't know, but other than that, honestly, there are no real regrets. So I wouldn't go like, don't do that. You know, it's like, no, just keep going. Like, and of course, like there were a lot of moments or years where you didn't really believe. We didn't believe in ourselves, so we've thought that, this is not good enough. But then you found your way again, and you went back into it. So it's yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Oh, and maybe one more question. Which song are you looking forward to play the most tonight?
Well, it's actually Our Talented Darkness, because we haven't played it that much. We only played it like on this tour, and it's the first one. It's one of the favorite songs on the album, and it's fun to play, and it's heavy and it's cool, and I really dig it, and it means a lot to me, and it's going to be fun to see how people react to it.
Cool, then thank you so much for this nice interview.
Music Interviews Corner.